Welcome to another exciting episode of HeyCS, the podcast where we dive deep into the world of customer success. I'm your host, Tyrone Tan, and today we have a special guest who brings a wealth of knowledge and experience to our discussion. Joining us is Raman Bindra, a seasoned professional in the field of customer success and digital transformation, with a proven track record of driving customer engagement and leveraging technology to enhance customer experiences. Raman has worked with some of the leading names in the industry. His expertise spans across various facets of customer success, making him a valuable resource for anyone looking to excel in this space. Welcome to the show, Raman.
Thank you so much, Aaron, for that amazing, description about my experience. Means a lot. And yes, while I have been working across with multiple organizations and scaling processes, it has been a great learning curve for me to start from when the CS in itself was emerging as a function and see it grow. So in the growth of customer success as a function worldwide, I see myself grow as well because at that point I started my career. And in a decade, you see that where CS is. And I'm just trying to be hopeful that I also kind of accomplish a lot of new and cutting edge things in my journey. But thank you so much for that, interesting introduction.
Absolutely. So, Raman, let's dive right into an experience or a challenge that you had with one of your previous companies. Could you describe maybe the challenge, what was going on, the environment, and what you wanted to accomplish?
Sure. So one thing that we were, facing issues was around product adoption. Now, as an organization or in every SaaS industry, product adoption or feature adoption is one of the primary things or goals for any organizations to thrive and understand what is really working for their customers and is that feature really yielding results for the end customer. Now, on the same grounds, the main issue that my organization was facing was whenever we would bring out a new feature that we believed would be very helpful for our enterprise or mid market customers, we would really face troubles with their adoption. Now, the first thing was that we had to cut off from our nascent approach of thinking that what is working, what is not, but getting into customer interviews. So when I started talking to customers in person, one thing that I realized was that what is in it for them if they kind of use that feature, right? Because from a company standpoint, we would be on the gaining front. But at the end of the day, if you are looking for a successful venture, you need to ensure that both the parties involved gain something from that particular venture. Now, in case of feature adoption, I wanted to ensure that if we are getting a great result in adoption, we also need to ensure the customer also gains something from this. So that's where I thought of why not, gamifying the entire approach. Because when you are working on, kind of having the same approach that a feature is launched, you drop a fancy email to the customer that, hey, we have, launched this thing, it might be really helpful. But at the end of the day, what they might be receiving multiple emails like that from their other vendors. So what is it that you do differently that can catch their attention? And that was something that kind of helped me to think out of the box and say that, hey, you know what, usually in India as a country, sports has a lot of precedence over everything, right? And people are really carried away when you talk anything about sports or relate anything about sports. So that was kind of something that was already hitting me at the back, and that if we are gamifying something, let's hit that sweet spot so that we can at least get attention of our users or customers. And in India, cricket is very famous, and IPL or Indian Premier League, as we call it, has a lot of precedence and a lot of interest over the masses. I wanted to do something on the similar front so that it could hit the sweet spot, get the attention, and that's where we could start the communication. Now we had that plan in mind. I started reaching out to a few of my customers who I thought were a good shortlist to test this feature out on. And if their adoption would have been good, we would try to commercialize this feature and ensure that we sell it out to the masses. Now, in this page, what I did when I was talking to them, I was like, hey, you know what? I'm thinking of building out a league. As soon as I mentioned this word league, the customer was like, hey, I want to know more. You know, I really want to know more. Keep talking. And in 2, 3 conversations itself with my customers, I figured out that, you know what, this is something that we can use as a theme to increase adoption. And that's where, when we already had the list ready, we shortlisted 25 distinct organizations who would be a part of this league, creating them as teams. Now, every team needs someone at the back end, someone at the front end to help you, work better or win. So we ensured that these 25 distinct organizations or so-called teams would have the CSMs allocated to it, which who already are working with them as their own CSMs, and definitely the product managers because they are the ones who need to capture the feedback. So we will allocate them as well. Now, these 25 distinct organizations represented 5 different industries with whom we were working so that we do not have a biased approach towards this adoption. And we also ensured that these 25 distinct organizations were from different segments as well. So, for example, 10 were from enterprise, 10 were from mid market, and 5 would be from the medium and small, also called the SMBs, to ensure that we are not just, restricting ourselves to a specific segment for the feedback. Now, after this was kind of, gamified, we had those fancy, you can call it as fancy communication going out to the customer that, hey, you know what, you are the lucky one who has been chosen to be a part of this league. That gave the customers a sense of achievement that, hey, I'm already a part of something big, or I have been shortlisted to do something here. So when we did that, we received a lot of replies that, hey, I'm excited to take it forward. What's the next step? And that's where we started laying down the foundation of it that, hey, this is the feature. It's going to be in your platform for the next 45 days. You need to ensure that you're using it and passing on feedback to us on a regular basis by having weekly cadence. Every weekly touch point is going to have points associated to it. Every positive feedback, which actually makes sense to the product, will have additional bonus points. And even the negative feedback that is going to improve it is going to have its own set of points. At the end of the 45 days, whichever team scores the maximum is going to get the trophy, the certificate, and also an option to use this feature free of cost for the next 1 year. So now, if you look at the whole concept here, the gamification is there, the attention is there, the excitement level is there. Plus, there is also something in store for my customer. He's going to get a feature for free. He's going to get recognition. We will be, ensuring that we capture that heroics of the customer and share it within his own team to make him feel that, he has done something big. So here we have captured all those nuances. Now the stage is set, and we start it from the D-Day. Trust me, earlier it used to take multiple emails to the customer to say that, hey, have you started to use it? Are you using it? Can you give me some feedback? From day one, 20 of 25 organizations had already kickstarted to use it. It was such a scenario wherein my dev team was not even prepared that on day one, all the users would use it. And we were like, are we even ready for that volume? Because that feature had to be, that would consume a lot of API, calls from the backend. They were like, Raman, this is a good problem to have, honestly, at this point of time, because this is something that we were striving for a long time. And luckily, it was just a 30-minute fix. We were back on, and third day, 25 to 25 organizations, all of them are using it. We are getting the feedback like crazy. 45 days, end of the league, and we had such amazing feedback that not only helped us make that feature as a live feature on our platform, but we are also gaining upselling revenue from it. That's one. Second, our own customers who had made it or used it in beta were ready to give references towards it so that other customers can use it in a more beneficial way. It was a win-win, and yes, definitely there was a tie between two organizations, but we ensured that everyone got a great certification, everybody got a shout out from us in front of their own teams. We kept a 15-minute call with their teams and managers to help them understand what they have done and how much is that meaningful to them as an organization as well as to us. So in the whole scenario, if I talk, the takeaways from this is that if you are struggling in such scenarios, try to gamify, try to understand the sweet spot of your customers and ensure that there has to be a win-win and a gaining standpoint for your customers as well, so that they can put in their precious time. Because if you look at it from the other standpoint, we are also trying to respect our customers' time here, because they are putting their time and effort, which is, if you equate it with money, it's an ROI. It's actually an investment. we need to give them an ROI. And that is in the form of accomplishment, telling them that this has been great, sharing those heroic certificates, and also ensuring that they get to use something for free, which is again an ROI to them. So this is how we were able to nail this. And it became a very good, successful story throughout our organization as well as our customers.
All right, so I'm dying to know, was there like a big trophy or a big metal gold cup that they get to raise at the end of this 13 weeks of a competition?
There was a replica of the World Cup that we had shared with the customer. It was like a mini cup, but everyone tend to kind of share and post pictures around it, which was again a great experience.
Wonderful, wonderful story. So, what you said was that you found great success in helping get feedback and all this knowledge on this new feature that you brought in, but more so, you included the customer, but you also engaged not only them but your team. How did it help with morale on the team? How did it build continuity, or what were some of the other positive effects in relation to your team?
I guess it had an amazing positive impact on the entire team. The very first one, which customer success is known to be, is that you have to be collaborative in your nature of work, right? If you're not collaborating internally with everyone, considering we are a 360 function, we need to talk to every department. This exercise in itself ensured that we were not just restricted to talk to product team, but we were also talking to sales, we were talking to marketing, we were talking to DevOps to ensure that the feedback was coming in. They were kind of excited about making things happen. But this actually built a very strong foundation of successful collaboration, due to which we ensured that every quarter we would keep a joint OKR between multiple teams so that we can still ensure this collaboration is celebrated and the company gains from this, because this is something that's very important. Customer success is the center point of customer communications, and all the knowledge that is flowing in has to flow out to different departments so that they can make use of it. Like marketing can make use of great case scenarios, case studies, testimonials. Product can take make a note of what is really working well, what is not, for the customers. DevOps can make a note that which bug is constantly coming for the customers so that make a fix live. Sales can talk about which specific segment is using your product in what way, so they can use it as a pitch to capture additional customers and also use existing customers as references. So these dots, when they are connected, it is already a beginning of making a winning team for the organization.
Wow, what a story. I mean, it wasn't just so much that you gamified and found success and yeah, you got the customers to renew for retention. More so, you actually built and fortified your team within teams and established a greater form of communication. An amazing story. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you so much for talking about it. And I always, still till date, though I have moved on from that organization, people still reach out to me. They were like, "Hey, do you remember that?" We call it as PAL. They always like, "Hey, do you remember about the PAL you did?" People still talk about it. It had a great impact. I was like, I am still talking about it. It was such a great experience for me.
And what did the PAL stand for?
Product adoption week.
Awesome. So for future or for existing CS leaders out there who are looking to get an adoption of a feature, you would highly recommend this?
No doubt about it. It's gonna help them win with flying colors.
Fantastic. Now, if you could, let's talk about most currently what's going on in your world today and where you at and what challenges are you having with with your new venture?
Got it. So right now I'm working with a company called RecruiterFlow, which is helping transform recruiting businesses of agencies by giving them all in all ATS, CRM to ensure they can help close newer businesses and get, and ensure that the hiring cycle is reduced so that they can help their customers with much better quality candidates and increase their own set of businesses. My role here is more of director customer success, who is responsible to build the customer success team. And while I take care of that, I'm also taking care of onboarding team as well as the implementation or the migration team that helps customers onboard and implement their use cases so they can use it more efficiently. So this is my role at present. And the key responsibility that I own right now is to build a strong process laden team that I did in my previous experience so that we can, get more and more retention and increase the customers LTV.
So let's talk about the maybe something that you could share that is a current challenge within your role right now, and what are some of the strategies to overcome it?
So I guess considering, this process is fairly new in its origin for this organization, our main fundamental behind, the customer success function is to ensure that firstly, what customers are using RecruiterFlow for as of today. That's one. Secondly, identifying multiple segments of customers. So we have, customers in multiple segments like enterprise, mid-market, and SMB. Earlier, there was no segment, due to which there was no customer prioritization per se. There was burning out that was happening. There were certain customers that might were getting missed. But again, when the organization is growing, processes, come in later after you get stable set of customers. So the organization achieved that. And now, while we did that, we wanted to ensure that we have strong processes in place. So the very first thing that we did as an organization is to segment our set of customers basis their revenue and geography into enterprise, mid-market, and SMB. Now, after doing that, the other thing that we did was ensure we have playbooks or processes in place which are relevant to those specific segments as of today. Why? You cannot work, in a similar fashion the way you handle an enterprise customer as compared to a small, SMB or a mid-market customer. It really needs, different level of association. It really needs different level of strategy to handle such kind of customers. So if we look at, for example, we look at SMB, I would want to go more of, or we are going more of tech touch, automations in place, so that, because the volumes are high with the SMB customer. So we are trying to make more of an automated communication in place so that they are aware of what's really happening and how they're using the product. Now, when we talk about enterprise with bigger teams, and more of stakeholders present, that's where a customized, tailored approach comes into picture, wherein we firstly identify who the SPOC is, who the decision maker is, who are the people who are going to use the product with the SPOC, identifying your own brand champions so that they can increase product adoption in their own teams, and taking regular feedbacks. So when we say regular feedbacks, having weekly or monthly cadences in place to ensure the engagement is going on, you are aware of what's really working for them, what's not, in a proactive fashion. You are not waiting for the fire to crack open, but instead you are on top of it already by having that proactive communication with them. When I again come back to SMB, here the scenario is that there might be just one or two people in the organization who are using the product. So there, considering that more of a human touch, they might need more of product stability in place. They might need more of frequent answers to their queries, for which we already have a support team. So here, in terms of SMB, I would want it, as I mentioned, more automated, wherein product updates go to them on time. But we do kind of, one check-in in a quarter to just see how things are. Are they really, happy with the way product is functioning for them? But again, if I come back to enterprise customers, here we try to identify KPIs. We try to understand how our product is aligned with the business goals of the customer. Because for the customer, the success is not a 99% uptime of my product. The success is how the product has helped them achieve their own business goals. So for the CSM, it's very important to be aware of what the customer is trying to achieve from your platform. What is their North Star metric so that you can align the KPIs or the tangible value metrics with those goals so that in every business review, may it be monthly or quarterly, you are telling them the progress of how we are moving. And if there is a disconnect, you can work on it ASAP instead of waiting, for it to increase in its own nature. So these are a couple of things that we captured in our playbooks to ensure all of this is in place. And while I talk about the customer processes, there is also a big mention of collaboration. That internally, how we talk to the sales teams, when a customer of an enterprise level is coming to us, what is the transition plan? How do we kind of talk and understand about the customer's history, the industry, the experience with any past vendor that they have been using, if of the similar product? Why did they shift? Why did they choose us? What is the USP that really got them thinking that, hey, this is the right thing for us? So getting all of that in place, and then planning the entire journey of the customer, so that when we get on a call with the customer of an enterprise level, it's not sounding like more of a monologue wherein I'm just leading the conversation that, hey, this is A, B, C, this is what I'm gonna do. Rather, we want to make it more of a dialogue and have their attention. So we talk about things wherein, hey, by the way, your industry is this. We studied about it. It's growing at 10 or 20%. What are your goals for this year in terms of growth? So making the customer talk about what they want to achieve in a more excited fashion helps them relate to you as a person as well as to the product. And that's where you finalize the KPIs that you would want to track in this entire 12-month or the contract tenure journey that they're going to have. So yeah, this is at a, I would say, myopic level that I wanted to kind of explain how we are trying to bifurcate the associations with different set of customers so that they get the value that they have signed up for at RecruiterFlow.
I find it really interesting that you're creating this dialogue with your, segmented customers. Each one is a little different, a little bit customized, but open to really get their input and really find out what they value. Um, with that strategy, how are you able to, let's just say, um, grow, or how has it resolved problems or issues, or possibly maybe even gained revenue or blossomed where you didn't know an opportunity was there, but something grew? Can you expand on that maybe?
Oh yeah, I guess in my last 5 6 months, there have been a lot of stories of shocks and surprises. To be honest, when I say surprises, and it's like there are certain customers who were sitting in the SMB, but because not a proper thorough research was done on them, people were missing on the growth opportunities that they already have. So so the very first thing that we did, that all the customers that you are having as a CSM, do a good research on them. Understand how big they are, how big is the team who is using you, and the information is readily available on the website, on LinkedIn. Try connect with them, understand how big they are, right? And this came out as a big surprise. So we could shortlist customers from the SMB segment who had potential to be a mid market or even an enterprise, and use them from an upsell standpoint. Now, in terms of enterprises, again, it was a great thing because when we use this approach, we got clarity that how each segment purposefully or say unintentionally visualizes RecruiterFlow, as an important element in their own business ecosystem. So, for example, in certain enterprises, RecruiterFlow is used as their go-to CRM for recruiting activities. Like they can't live without it. It's like not and just an add-on. Certain SMBs used it just as what do you say, data centric platform wherein they can store data, and that was helping them achieve what they were planning to do. So if you look at the two nuances that enterprises are using at the core of it. And SMB kind of, was using at it. But again, this was information prior to segmentation. But when we did segmentation and did our thorough research, we understood that everyone in SMB wants to use it as a mainframe platform, but they have no clue how to do it. That's where we ensure that the onboarding team comes into picture, tells them about the product, and helps them achieve their goals or even set KPIs. In case of enterprises, as I mentioned, they were using it as a full throttle system. But sometimes we got to know that they were not even aware of certain new features that could be really helpful for them, to grow. And when we started having these regular cadences after the playbook got into action, the first thing that we were able to accomplish was ensuring that enterprises are using us and are aware of all the feature offerings that are well in sync with their business goals. And with this, in the last 5 months, whatever contract renewals were coming, we did it all. There was none wherein the customer would come to me and say that, hey, you know what? I'm still in a fit. Is it even useful or not? We never got this question after that. That was a big win for us. Secondly, the CSMs from their standpoint, were not feeling burnt out to a certain extent. Why? Because now they had their own vision of what they need to do. Their role is clarified, their job is clarified, as well as what is expected of them is clarified. Due to which, now everyone has their own set of customers, everyone is aware of what needs to be done, and they're focusing on it. So even if there are 10 things on their plate, they know how to prioritize them basis what impact does each task has on the customer as well as the organization. So we used it as a yardstick to ensure that the CSMs are able to prioritize things in a much better way. And if things can wait, let them wait. And we are still trying to, work on this art of saying no from a CSM perspective, which is a very tough job as of today, because as CSMs, sometimes we want to do everything, but we want to understand that it's just 8 to 9 hours that we need to work, but that work needs to be quality and high impact. That's these two things I follow really well, and it actually helps us a lot to work with the things that really matter, right? So that has helped internally. And then the third part, definitely collaboration, because now understanding when you're dealing with bigger customers or smaller customers, there are multiple stakeholders from your organization who need to be involved at a certain point. As I mentioned in the beginning of the conversation, that if things are going really well, reach out to marketing, tell them that, hey, you know what, use this, talk to the customer, he's happy. And also, again, sales, help them understand use cases. One more thing is ensure that customers who are happy with you are not just happy with the service or the relationship that you have built. Definitely, you own this one, but you also need to have a strong clarity that with this association, is the product really adding value to their ecosystem? Because I have seen cases in my experience, you're getting great CSAT, the customer is giving you great emails where saying like, I'm so happy working with Raman as of today. And the very next week, a cancellation request hits in. And it's like, you know what? The association was great, but I still couldn't find value with the product. And the sole reason why you were not able to nudge that was because you were just focused most towards saying that, hey, my customer is happy. I think he always gives me positive feedback, so he should be getting return. But that's where you are missing out. Don't take things for granted with customers, because while you have built a great relation with the customer, try to use it to understand the real situation inside customers organization, how the product is performing, and try to get that important aspect and share it internally with the relevant stakeholders, so that again you're not waiting for the fire to crack open, but sitting on top of it and saying that, hey, you know what, I know what's going on, and I'm aware that my customers are happy in the true sense.
Wow, that was pretty interesting. You're actually leaning on your customer success managers to dive deeper than just happy customer. You're actually asking them to be inquisitive and to dive and peel away at that and dig deeper to really understand the inner happiness of that customer and what the bigger picture of really where they're coming from, their perspective.
Yes, and definitely, while we all do this, definitely a lot of automations come into picture. If we even talk about technology, because considering that the way newer trends are hitting the CS, customer success as a function, uh, when the volume increases, definitely the need of technology and product also increases. When I say product, that is going to empower the customer success team as a function. So, trying to get a CS platform in place, trying to get CSAT survey automations in place to ensure there are relevant notifications hitting you at the right time so that you can take relevant action. So while we are trying to do all this, there is a big role of technology that also plays in, so that you are not kind of working too much manually. Because let's be honest, if you have to handle 50 plus customers, and if you're not using technology, trust me, even if I say that we are trying not that our customers are customer success managers are not burnt up, they would be exhumed in fire because they have to go check out everything. But if you are, and that is one more thing that we kind of strive in this organization, is trying to use technology at its best, so that we are able to automate a lot of tasks that could be essentially time saver for our CSMs, even to the extent that we have customer success, customer health automated. You will get automatic notifications if there is a red flag in the customer, and you can kind of track it instead of just moving here and there and saying that, hey, I have set X date in a particular month to go through all my accounts. That was like so 2013, 2014, right? Now we are in 24 with chat gpt hitting you hard. Why not to leverage it? That is the reason I always say that technology, if used in the true sense, is a big enabler for customer success that can not only help them reduce tasks, but also be on top of their game, even in terms of getting data. Because as I was also talking about, be on top of your customers and be aware of what's happening. Data plays a very important role. And that data collection can come really well or be really well if you have appropriate technology and automations in place, so that my thought process behind is that you do not need to search for data, rather spend time in actionables using that data. So if you're getting data in a click, use it and spend more time in terms of planning actionables. But I am that person who would not want to spend a lot of time in collating data, because I just feel that time is redundant if you already have technology in place to take care of that.
Whew, man, that's awesome. You've had a lot of experience in hiring
Yes.
customer success managers and fellow team players. What are some things that you look for because you know a good one? What makes a good one versus a great one in your opinion?
Like, there actually is a big difference. So, a good one is who is aware of the processes, who has done it, in his past experience, but he's the one who would stick to the notebook. That, hey, I'm aware of my 10 tasks. I need to ensure that I follow timelines. I need to ensure that I am doing what I'm asked to do. That's a good one. A great one is not going to wait for me to tell him what has to be done. The great one is passionate about his customers. The great one is the one who doesn't stick to the notebook. He's like, this is not working. Let me do this. Let me check it out. Let me check another plan. He's not gonna say. So I'll give you an example. In customer success, we do get a lot of scenarios wherein we say, hey, customer is ghosting us. Customer is not reverting to my emails. I'm dropping them emails repeatedly. Customer is not talking to me. What should I do? Now, the good one would just constantly keep dropping emails to the customers. Hey, I dropped one email, I dropped two emails. You know what? I used a fancy tagline and again dropped an email. The great one is going to drop an email, wait for 2 days. No response? Call up the customer. No response? Go to the A, talk to him, identify the right person. Who is the person who was in charge with you when you were closing the sale? Like that guy is that passionately mad guy who will ensure that why is my customer not talking to me? What is going wrong? I can't lose my set of customers. If I'm having a book value of 1 million US dollars in ARR, it can go to 1.10. It cannot come to 90. That's that craziness. And while this is a trait or a nature, technologically as well, how data centric is this person? The good one will be like, okay, fine. I have the data. 1 month was great. Second month was good. This is the NRR. The great one is going to tell me that, hey, first month was good. Second month was bad. Third month, we need to work like this, Raman, to ensure that in my forecast, we are able to achieve a great NRR. He has that forecasting mindset in his mind. He's thinking future. He's thinking long term. Good one is good at his job, but he's not thinking from that perspective that if today I take an action, what is the repercussion of that action going to be in the next 6 months, 8 months? The great one is the one who knows that, hey, today I'm going to do this. It's going to yield me results at the end of the quarter. Say, for example, 6 months. That's what I personally feel differentiates these guys and has also helped me a lot in the interviews. And also, how well are you in terms of explaining practical examples, which is coupled with data data centric impact? A good one might tell you stories about, hey, we made this process. Hey, I retained 90% or 100% of my customers. The great one, if you're interviewing them, I'm sorry, I'm just going on and on this one.
Keep going, keep going. You're amazing.
But the great one, when they talk about this, there's a whole story around it. They tell you about the pain point, the problem. It's perfectly crafted. They know what the problem was. They understood what needs to be done, and with that approach, They ended up building a process that is now going to be helping save another set of big customers. That's how the impact comes into picture, and that's where you can identify that, okay, this guy has actually done something great or really is passionate. The other one, yeah, he's great, he's good, but he can do good if he's given a great mentorship, or even if he thinks out of the box. Because as of today, there is no definition of out of the box, right? But as a CSM, how are you inculcating those values to show that, oh, wow, when you say, wow, how did he do it? That's where you saw that he has done something awesome. So that's what I personally feel differentiates these two different leagues of customer success managers.
Fantastic. And for those aspiring, let's say, customer success leaders or managers who are looking for a position, what advice would you give them to differentiate themselves during an interview?
So the first key advice, be data centric. Just don't talk about what you did or what you built. Talk about the impact that you brought into the organization when you were there. That's what is very important, because sometimes I have seen people talking about things that are pretty much relevant on job descriptions of job openings of customer success managers. That usually, what does JD say? Should have managed 10 to 12 CSMs, should have managed a ARR of $100 million, or should have managed this set of customers, or should have worked in this industry. But if you are telling me the same thing in your interview, it is not going to give me an impact. But if you're telling me that when we're handling that 1 million ARR worth of revenue with your customers, how were you ensuring that you retained it? What were the actual crucial steps that you were taking to ensure it didn't really go off? The NRR dropped, or if there were escalations in such kind of customers, how would you deal with them to ensure that you were pretty much proactive? So using words which are resonant to customer success as of today does not do a good job, because now everyone knows the generic CS words like proactive, empathy, ensuring data mindset, and also kind of be good with numbers and technology. But we need to understand that how did you use all of this to have that winning at story, and that helped you impact. And also, when I say impact, it should not just be saying that we improved NRR. Tell me by what percent and how did you achieve that percent is the edge that I'm looking at to understand, because that's where I would resonate my practical scenario of the organization and understand if he was able to do that, he can solve the problems here. But if it is just a monologue of people talking about some fancy words of customer success, but not a data mindset story around it, which actually showcases impact, I guess that's where you might lose the interest of the interviewer for in your respective interview of customer success.
Wow, great insight. Thank you so much, Raman. Thank you for your time. I mean, I learned a lot from you, and I'm so excited for your future with RecruiterFlow and what you're able to bring to the table. So, thank you so much for spending your time today.
Thank you so much, and thank you so much for having me on this podcast. Really, it was a great one, and really hope to see more and more people coming on this one and doing future collaborations with you as well. Thank you so much for having me on this one.
Thanks again, Raman.
Thank you.
Bye bye.